And a bright good morning to everybody. Hi, how's it going out there in chronic pain land, medical marijuana land, and Washington, D.C.? President Trump, Mr. Rosenberg, Mr. Sessions, listen the hell up. Leave medical marijuana alone. Okay, I got a thing in there on Sessions says he can't believe more Americans aren't standing on his side. Okay, the majority of Americans are learning that cannabis cures. Cannabis fixes cancer, where the cancer industry has a 70% attrition rate. Cannabis cancer treatment has a 70% success rate. So don't tell me weed is not medicinal. Me, I've been showing you, okay? The last two videos, I've been in intense freaking pain right at the start of the videos. And I show you me taking my meds and smoking my weed, and it doesn't turn me into some slack-eyed, drooling freaking zombie, okay? It brings down my pain levels to a bearable, just barely bearable numbers. I'm always at distressing and very distressing. That's my minimum. Okay? President Trump, you need to come here. Face to face with me right here. Spark one with me. You're the president. You can get past the law that way. Try some weed. Open your endocannabinoid system. Get it working. You won't have colds. You won't have the flu. You won't get cancer as long as you take your hemp oil and smoke some cannabis. You'll stay cancer free. I guarantee you. Okay? So most of this is going out to the president and the government and people like Jeff Sessions. Sessions, you, sir, are an asshole. Don't like it? You're a politician. You have to take it. We, the people, hired you via the president. Okay? The president may have put you in the cabinet, but the people put the president there. And so via that's why you're there. The people put you there. Now, you need to leave us alone. The patients. Millions and millions and millions of patients. Not stoners. Okay? It isn't about getting high. It's not. It's about getting healed. Okay? I've already cured myself of chronic bronchitis, asthma, I'm working on my emphysema, and I'll bet it's getting better, and I've kicked hep C in the ass. And it's gone. Not a trace of hepatitis in my body. My liver is totally frickin' healthy. Even taking morphine. Why? Because I used medical marijuana at the same time. Any damage to your body done by opiates is undone by cannabinoids. These simple little acids that turn into hydrocarbons in our body and affect the endogenous cannabinoid system with phytocannabinoids, and it attaches to everything. Our entire body is an endocannabinoid receptor. Yes, at the junction of every cell, joint, ligament, bone, tendon, whatever, blood vessels, tissues, all different kinds of tissues in your body, all respond well to cannabinoids. Medical and scientific facts. Okay? And medical and scientific facts trumps anything you say, Mr. Sessions and Mr. Rosenberg and President Trump. You pledged 100% support for medical marijuana, and now you've got a Department of Justice who's just itching and begging for money so that he can come after people like me. I served my 6 years plus in the military. I got my PTSD from it. And a lot of my body is broken down because of what I used to do for this government. In the Army. Jumping out of planes. Yes, ruined me. Okay? My back to this day is from compression fractures from hitting the ground at 22 feet per second. Because that's what a T-10 parachute would keep you at. 22 feet per second drop. I went into the trees at 40 miles an hour in a cross breeze. Put me right in the trees, dislocated shoulders, broke my ribs. Okay? And my other times in the Army, I've had 4 major concussions, 6 or 7 major whiplashes. I've had my hands crushed twice, once, dislocated many times, dislocated fingers, and I did it all in the Army. For this government, for my government at the time, Carter, Reagan, okay? But I served my time. I did my time. I served this country. And I've been given the privilege and the medicine. This is a medicine and it's a privilege to smoke marijuana for my chronic pain and PTSD and other issues. And it's all helped by my combination of morphine sulfate, quetiapine, Valium, and amitriptyline, hemp oil, Rick Simpson oil, and medical cannabis. It all works together in the entourage effect, and it gives me a quality of life. Let me show you something. Let me show you where I live. Okay, I live in this, it's a manufactured home. You know, what you call a trailer. We're about 5 feet up from the ground. And look. Nothing. I can just hear the quail. Nothing to get in. We get coyotes, we get pigs, we got a bobcat that comes around once in a while. They always get the Thanksgiving turkey. We set the carcass out there and they love it. We love our wildlife. We love living at the end of nowhere. And it's a good thing for me, living at the end of nowhere. Because I can't work anymore. I cannot function as a properly functioning human being anymore. Why? Like I told you outside. The Army ruined me. Broke things, dislocated things, crushed things, mega whiplashes and concussions. Okay? I served my time. And then I served this country. 30 years of serving people in restaurants as a cook, waiter, manager. I started as a dishwasher, worked my way up to cook within a few weeks. Turned into a breakfast cook, got off the graveyard shift, and I was a kick-ass cook, and I made money from the servers for putting out good fast food and making them money. Okay? My servers would hit $100 and they'd throw me a 20. I'd sometimes get $100 from 5 servers just for cooking. And then when I was waiting tables, people loved me because I'm a whirling dervish on the floor. I would bring out big huge trays and I had it all down pat. Why? Because I've got a hell of a mind that's in a constant whirlwind. And when I worked, everything I did fast and well and efficient. Okay? Even as a dishwasher. I was on probation from my cocaine bust back in the 80s. After I got out of my first marriage, I had to have a job. I got a job washing dishes at Village Inn. Well, so one night on the graveyard shift, the bar rush hits. The cook is in the employee bathroom banging one of the servers. And these waitresses are coming back, they're going, we need food, we need food. I said, I'm just a dishwasher. They said, get up there and help. So I had a server get on the line with me and help put out all this food while this guy's in there banging this chick for like 20 minutes. Boom, I turned into a cook. A few weeks of training of working on the line, and I wasn't a dishwasher anymore. I got a $2 raise and I got put on the cook line. And from there, it was all restaurants. Restaurants was my career. And it ruined me. The constant motions of using spatulas and knives and lifting heavy boxes and then carrying heavy trays, ruined me. And my playing drums, music ruined me. I love my drums. I could play for hours. My rotator cuffs are shot from the Army and years in restaurants. And I have pains. Many, many pains. Mr. President, Mr. Sessions, I hope you see this. I'll tag you too. See if there's an @Jeff Sessions for you. Okay? But you need to listen. You need to hear the truth. And you need to understand the truth. And you need to believe the scientific facts that trumps your feelings against marijuana. It isn't all about reefer madness. 80 years ago, when Anslinger started this bullcrap prohibition on weed, it was just because alcohol prohibition failed and he needed to keep his job. So he went after pot. And he said he blamed it pot. Back in the 30s, he blamed pot on the Mexicans and the blacks. Yes, Harry Anslinger was an asshole racist. And when he prohibited marijuana and hemp, that was the two stupidest moves ever made by anybody in in our government. Ever. When Harry Anslinger was allowed to go and do this, he was the first drug czar. Okay? Now, Mr. Sessions, you want to be the new drug czar. Okay? Well, the Department of Justice did not give you that money. Why? I'll tell you in a second. Hold on. Okay, Mr. Sessions, you say you're surprised Americans aren't embracing your anti-marijuana stance. You want to know why? Me and my videos is one. Everything I've said in the past 90 videos, this is 91. I'm heading for that benchmark of 100. Give me topics and questions, people. Topics and questions. This time I'm going after Jeff Sessions, and I've already mentioned Rosenberg and Trump. Mr. Trump, you gave us 100% guaranteed support for medical marijuana in America. And to not put Sessions in his place means you have broken your campaign promise. The promise that got me to vote for you. And dedicate a page on my Facebook for you. Patriot Up America for Donald Trump. I made that for you. Okay? Because I trusted your campaign promise. Now you need to live up to it and leave medical marijuana alone. Okay? The reason the Department of Justice did not give you any money, Mr. Sessions, is because the 10th Amendment to the Constitution gives the states autonomous control over specific laws which are not laid out in the Constitution. The only thing about cannabis and hemp that's in the Constitution is because it's printed on hemp paper. Industrial hemp. Yes, we need to get back to that and save the freaking trees. Okay, we waste trees every day wiping our asses. 65,000 acres of trees a day is being denuded just so we can wipe our asses. And it's freaking ridiculous. Plastics. Any piece of plastic that's been made, even if you burn it down to its smallest element, it's still plastic. Every piece of plastic ever made still exists. They say they recycle, but they don't. The landfills are full of them, They've got pictures of beaches that are covered with plastic water bottles and detritus of mankind raping this planet. Hemp is the key to saving the planet, and the CBD richness of the leaves of the hemp plant is the preventative for cancer. And then cannabis with THC and CBD is the cure. Period. The cure for hundreds of diseases with thousands of different symptoms, all fixed with these two plants. The family Cannabaceae. Okay? These plants, to deny us the use of a plant that has been here since before humans, okay? Because all vertebrate life has an ECS. So vertebrates before humans were eating wild hemp and cannabis. And like I said earlier, when everybody started using hemp, the animals would eat it and they would pass it on in their milk or their meat. And they would pass these cannabinoids on to the people. And they lived healthy. They were healthy people. Okay? You look at a vegan nowadays, and they've got a thigh smaller than my frickin' wrist. Okay? And they say they'll not eat meat and all this stuff. You're going against nature. We're omnivores. We're made to eat meat as well as vegetables. Now, cannabis is a vegetable. Hemp leaves in your salad, cannabis leaves in your salad, and you don't get high because you don't release the THC. President Trump, I implore you, come over here and smoke a joint with me and tell me it doesn't change your outlook on life. Okay? There was some politician last year said he turned into a frog. I went over that in another video. You don't turn into shit, And people, you don't hallucinate off of weed. It is not like that. It's not LSD. It is not morphine. It's not a trippy drug. There is some mild psychoactivity that gives you a feeling of wellness, a feeling of health. It's not all about getting high. So, why aren't Americans embracing the anti-weed stance for Mr. Sessions? This is April 13th this year. Attorney Jeff Sessions on Tuesday said he's surprised Americans aren't overwhelmingly embracing his widely reported stance against marijuana. All the while, recent polling reveals a majority of voters do, in fact, support legal pot. So, Sessions briefly weighed in on marijuana legalization during a wide-ranging discussion held that Tuesday at Luke Air Force Base near Phoenix from the AZ Central. When they nominated me for Attorney General, you would have thought the biggest issue in America was when I said, I don't think America is going to be a better place if they sell marijuana at every corner grocery store, he told the attendees. Mr. Sessions, that was one of your most ignorant frickin' statements I've ever frickin' heard. They don't sell weed at local goddamn grocery stores. They sell it in state-sponsored, regulated dispensaries. Think. Listen to research. Listen to doctors, scientists, biologists, neurologists, virologists. They will tell you that you've got your head up your ass. You need to pull it out, Mr. Sessions. Pull your head out of your ass. Go after the meth labs. Go after the illegal import drugs. Do not fuck with medical marijuana. The states are legally, under the 10th Amendment, creating these laws, and you can't stop it. Because you cannot change the Constitution or the Bill of Rights. Okay? Those amendments stand. Okay? And the Supreme Court, go ahead and try to bring them in too. I think more than half of the Supreme Court actually will support medical marijuana because it works. Every day things are coming out. More and more things are coming out that says weed is good for us. So let me get back to this. So Sessions, he says, people didn't like that. I'm surprised they didn't like that. Well, 57% of Americans favor legalizing, according to the results of a government-sponsored opinion poll published last month, that'd be March, establishing a historic high point with respect to public support for pot. Currently, weed is legal for medical or recreational purposes in 28 states and D.C., notwithstanding the federal government's ongoing prohibition on pot. Washington, D.C. is still legal. And while Mr. Sessions infamously voiced anti-legalizing views prior to being confirmed as Trump's Attorney General, at one point declaring, "Good people don't smoke marijuana." Mr. Sessions, fuck you. You're calling me a bad person. Okay? Fuck you. Good people don't smoke marijuana. Eat shit. Son of a bitch. I'm a good frickin' person. I'm trying to help people. I've got my weed. I don't need to do these frickin' videos. But I'm bringing out the truth and the facts to help support people who suffer from chronic intractable pain, seizure disorders, cancers, a plethora of diseases, a palette of symptoms and signs and illnesses and maladies and just things that go wrong with the human body. And if you go to yesterday's, number 90, the clinical endocannabinoid deficiency, we have the ECS. So when we get sick, it's been found to be partly due to an imbalance in cannabinoids on our cannabinoid receptors in our bodies. Meaning, Mr. President, if you get the flu, cannabis will help you get over it quicker. It'll help your lungs clean out faster. If you get a cold and you're all congested and stuff, weed helps you expectorate mucus and it cleans your lungs of smut and pollutants. The basic hydrocarbon profile of cannabinoids fits our bodies safer than baby aspirin, safer than salt. Yes, cannabis is safer than table salt. I gotta get my hemp oil. Hold on a second. Okay. I missed yesterday's dose because they just came in the mail yesterday. In fact, I haven't even opened this one. But, this is the hemp oil I get from Tracy. Throw this crap out. And all it is, it's full spectrum CBD hemp oil. That's it. It's made from hemp. It's nice orange flavored. Safety lid, you gotta press down and turn. There we go. You get a dropper full under the tongue. Now I'm just gonna let it sit. I can talk around it. But right here. Let me get back to that thing that really pissed me off. Good people don't smoke marijuana. That pisses me the hell off. And I feel I have the right to say fuck you to Mr. Sessions. You're a politician, you have to take it. Just like the police. We can cuss the police out and they can't do a frickin' thing. Now, your Justice Department has so far failed to take action against any of the more than 24 states currently defying the federal law. Even so, Mr. Sessions spoke out explicitly last month against medical and recreational laws alike. He said, "I realize this may be an unfashionable belief in a time of growing tolerance of drug use. That's not what medical marijuana is. It is not a tolerance of drug use. It is the utilization of a natural frickin' medicine that fits our goddamn bodies like a lock and frickin' key. Two puzzle pieces, everything fits together to make us healthy. To give me the energy and the strength to sit here and do this video. 4 years ago, almost 5 years ago, when I didn't have marijuana and I was on OxyContin and psych meds, I was all totally fucked up in the head. I had a blackout at the wheel. Venlafaxine, Klonopin, OxyContin, all this shit that I was taking. Just boom! I had a meltdown. My brain melted down. I was on the way to the doctors to get my morphine and weed and get off the oxy and psych meds. I was going there for my medical marijuana card on the way to the doctors. And I got off the interstate and boom, this humongous headache hit me, and I didn't remember the rest of the drive except a few times where I woke up and I was like this, looking at the radio and hearing those little orange and white striped barriers. Boom, 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 boom. I was running them over because the road had turned like this for some construction and they had those little barriers. Well, I was just running through the barriers. I went straight. And this was right in front of my doctor's office. It took me 20 minutes to park. This was a witness. So I kept, forward and backward trying to get myself, and I was parked perfect after that. It took 20 minutes, but I parked myself perfectly. I had my gun, but I left my gun and the keys sitting on the seat. Locked the door because I knew I shouldn't be driving. Sheriffs took my blood without a warrant. You blew it. But anyway, I was still under medications that said, take precautions when you drive. It does not say do not drive. So legally, my medications caused this meltdown. Legally. Okay? It was not driving while intoxicated. I had an adverse reaction. Hydrocephaly. I got water on the brain. My brain was full. And it was all due to the venlafaxine and Klonopin and OxyContin. Now that I'm on morphine sulfate with cannabis, Seroquel and amitriptyline and Valium to get me to sleep, to rest, to relax, and it's not about being fashionable. And it's not about being a stoner, Mr. Sessions. It is about healing the body, the mind, the soul, the aura. Okay? If you've never been in combat, you ain't got a damn thing you can say to me. If you have not walked a day in my shoes, in the intense pain that I am always in, you cannot judge me or my medications. My doctor is not one of those doctors that just hands out morphine scripts and medical marijuana. As far as I know, I was his first. Weed was already medically legalized here for a year. And I think I was his first that he put on the weed. Hopefully to get me down on the morphine. Alas, that doesn't work. My pain levels are so high that I'm on 240 milligrams of morphine per day. And I never feel it. I never feel withdrawals. Why? Cannabis. So anyway, Mr. Sessions says, I realize this may be an unfashionable belief in a time of growing tolerance of drug use, but too many lives are at stake to worry about being fashionable. Lives are at stake, Mr. Sessions? Lives are at stake, Mr. Jeff Sessions? You're a frickin' idiot. Nobody has ever died as a result of utilizing cannabis or hemp ever. The cancer industry kills people. They push chemotherapy on the 3 worst cancers that it has been proven that chemotherapy spurs the growth of, and it spurs it to metastasize. And the frickin' cancer industry wants to make a goddamn buck, and they don't give a shit about you or me. They want their money. And if they can get $10,000 per bag of poison per week out of you, they will do it. The 18-week, $1,200 to $2,400 of Rick Simpson oil cures cancer naturally, with substances that naturally fit in our bodies as if they belong there. Because they do. Mr. Sessions, Mr. President, Mr. Rosenberg, pull the heads out of the asses, listen to doctors and scientists and researchers that have proven these things, and get off your frickin' soapboxes unless you have facts. I'm on my soapbox here, but you know what? I've got the internet at my frickin' fingertips. And everything I find out about cannabis is good. Everything I find out about Jeff Sessions is bad. And now my president, Mr. Trump, I voted for you for a reason. You said you'd leave cannabis alone. You didn't. You're not promising that anymore. You're letting Sessions run shit. Thank you for Congress not giving the Justice Department the money to interdict medical marijuana in any state, because the states have the right to do it. And that's why Congress should never give the Department of Justice a dime for attacking legal medical marijuana users. Go to the states where people are growing wild and selling illegally. Go to the meth labs. Go to the borders and the imports of this on our coasts and check incoming drugs, and you'll find them. Leave medical marijuana alone, because it is a medicine, and you cannot deny it, because too many people are living frickin' proof of the efficacy and safety of weed. America will be a better place if marijuana is sold in every corner store. Bullshit! Dispensaries, Mr. Sessions. Learn something. Go back and watch the commercials for Prop 205 in Arizona last year. Regulating marijuana like alcohol. The anti-weed Nazis made commercials lying about Colorado, and they made it seem like you could get pot out of a vending machine in a high school. That's the thought they put in people's heads. That's why Prop 205 failed in Arizona. The anti-weed Nazis and their propaganda and lies. Out and out lies. Go to Christians Against Drugs, like I told you about yesterday and the day before. They lie. Cannabis has never killed anybody. So, I think medical marijuana has been hyped, maybe too much, Mr. Sessions continued, at one point saying pot is only slightly less awful than heroin. I'm sorry I gave you one of these earlier, but for this statement, you get 2. Double ignorance. Federal law is not eviscerated because the state ceases to enforce it in that state, Sessions said. Multiple bills have been filed in the House and Senate in the weeks since aimed at reining in the federal government's long-standing anti-marijuana stance. Meanwhile, the Canadian government introduced legislation that would implement North America's first federally approved system for legal marijuana. Yes. The Canadians are ahead of us. Go to one of my other websites here. Pull up my clipboard. That one, 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 and that one. Let's look at this that says it's leafly.com. Cannabinoids 101. What makes cannabis medicine? Now, President Trump, Mr. Rosenberg, Mr. Sessions, this is where I need you boys to pay attention. School's in. We live in ironic times. A plant that's been labeled criminal and dangerous is providing unrivaled relief for a variety of symptoms and conditions. Cannabis strains bring a colorful variety of medicinal effects. But when confronted with the question of how consuming marijuana could possibly be good for you, not everyone knows how to respond. This brief look at cannabis chemistry is meant to arm you with a basic knowledge of how cannabis affects the brain and body. Not only will you better understand your medicine, you'll be able to educate others about why cannabis can truly be an effective remedy for patients suffering from a myriad of ailments. What are cannabinoids? One hefty word that belongs in every medical marijuana patient's vocabulary is cannabinoid. Cannabinoids, e.g. THC, CBD, CBG, CBA, CBN, CBR, CBC, are the chemical compounds secreted by the cannabis flowers that provide relief to an array of symptoms including pain, nausea, anxiety, and inflammation, which is just about every frickin' disease known, has one or more of those as a symptom. Pain, nausea, anxiety, and inflammation. Now these work their medicinal magic by limiting compounds our bodies produce naturally called endocannabinoids, which activate to maintain internal stability and health. To put a complex system simply, they mediate communication between cells, and when there is a deficiency or problem with our ECS, unpleasant symptoms and physical complications occur. Are you taking notes, Mr. Sessions? There'll be a quiz. When cannabis is consumed, cannabinoids bind to the receptor sites throughout our brain, receptors called CB1 and body CB2. Different cannabinoids have different effects depending on which receptors they bind to. For example, THC binds to receptors in the brain, whereas cannabinol, CBN, has a strong affinity for the CB2 receptors located throughout the body on our immune systems. Depending on a cannabis product's cannabinoid profile, different types of relief are achievable. What are high CBD strains, and how do they differ from high THC strains? This concept is the cornerstone of cannabis as medicine, and the results are so promising that these cannabinoids have been synthesized for legal prescription use. Some synthetic cannabinoid medications include Marinol, Nabilone, and Rimonabant. Guess what? They all suck. They're all single molecule drugs that do one function only. Okay? Cannabis is cannabis. The entire whole plant cannabis needs to be used for the full effect of all cannabinoids, including THC, which doesn't just get you high. It goes elsewhere and does other things, and it cleans the brain's neurons, and it reverses Alzheimer's. Brain cancer, you want THC and CBD. Alzheimer's, same thing. Epilepsy, CBD. It all comes down to what cannabinoids you need. The results are promising. These cannabinoids have been synthesized. Now, while these synthetic forms are effective in their own right, their own little ways, research shows that herbal cannabis contains a far wider variety of therapeutic compounds. Cannabis contains at least, at 100%, cannabis contains at least 85 types of cannabinoids, many of which have documented medical value. Documented medical value. products and strains have been developed to deliver larger doses of different cannabinoids, hash, vapes, salve, topical salve with medical cannabis, right there. So, knowing which types best treat your symptoms is a handy piece of knowledge to bring to your next dispensary visit. And they have a little wheel here. What's wrong with you and what kind of cannabinoid do you need? Like you want pain and sleep, THC does sleep apnea. CBD THC takes care of cramps, migraine, headache, phantom limb pain, spinal injury. Combination of CBD, CBN, and THC, fibromyalgia. Got it. And this determines which cannabinoids may help treat your symptoms associated with mood, eating, gastrointestinal, neurological, pain, sleep disorders, and other medical conditions. Now let's go to another website I have. Cannabinoids, this is herb.co. Get everybody's stuff off of here. What are the effects of cannabis and cannabinoids on mental health? In early 2017, the National Academy of Science, Engineering, and Medicine, NASEM, released a comprehensive review of the available human studies on cannabis consumption. Much of the research presented discussed the physical and mental health impacts of cannabis. This article focuses on the mental health effects discussed in the report. The report, however, comes with a few caveats. Here's what NASEM's research suggests about the effects of cannabis on mental health. Okay, there's a lot of debate on whether or not cannabis has a positive or negative impact on mental health. On one hand, many cannabis consumers find that the herb helps them ease depression, stress, anxiety, and other ailments. However, the evidence on whether or not cannabis improves mental health long term is inconclusive. But I can tell you right now, I may have taken a few years off here and there, but I have always dosed my body with cannabinoids at least once a year since I was 8. I was a daily cannabis smoker since I was 8. From 8 to 18, the formative years, I smoked a lot. And my IQ just kept going up. There's your mental health. I am the guinea pig. And I am the proof. Now, the evidence is not long. Based on their research, human studies show a substantial association between cannabis and an increased risk for psychotic disorders like schizophrenia. Though, in this case, whether or not the herb was the cause of the condition cannot be determined. An association simply means that something in the cannabis environment may be contributing to the condition, though exactly what it has yet to be firmly concluded. According to the report, those with psychotic disorders face the highest risk with cannabis. Well, PTSD is a psychotic disorder. And they've proven it's good for PTSD. That's why it's on the list of qualifying conditions in Arizona. My doctor just put me down for chronic pain and PTSD because that's all he needed. All my other diseases are in my files. Now, additionally, the report also suggested that there was moderate evidence supporting the idea that daily cannabis use may worsen symptoms of mania and hypomania in bipolar disorder. I was married to a bipolar. We were married for 18 months. We were together for a year before that. So, in 30 months, she smoked every day with me. It did not change her moods. She went manic on a regular basis. She went depressive on a regular basis. Cannabis had nothing to do with it. It was her. It's the bipolar. It actually kept her calmer. And sometimes when she'd get really manic, I'd make her smoke some, and she would calm down. There's some proof. Now, there are a few other suggested connections as well, though these suggestions are based on moderate evidence, and these findings include heavy cannabis consumers are more likely to report thoughts of suicide. No. Heavy cannabis consumers more likely to report thoughts of suicide. Cannabis consumers are more likely to complete suicide. Regular cannabis use is associated with an increased risk of developing social anxiety. No. Pot makes people social. It makes them outgoing and happy. Okay? You've seen the picture of the hippie I shared that says, don't smoke pot unless you want to be, like, happy and shit. As you may have noticed, none of these observations can determine the cause of the condition. For example, are patients using cannabis heavily to manage feelings of suicidal depression, or is it the other way around? I'm sorry, but I already can't contemplate suicide myself. When I'm smoking weed, I don't even have the word suicide in my vocabulary when I'm smoking weed. I don't. Okay? And if you have felt the pains I felt, if you'd lived a day as a number 10, like I have, you might contemplate suicide. But I say you cannot blame the herb. You have to blame the person. People that go to the emergency room because of elevated heart rate and problems breathing, cannabis did not do that to you. Cannabis made you high, and your mind reacted negatively, and you created your own increased heart rate and respiration. Cannabis doesn't touch that part of the brain, so it has no effect on it. So it's you thinking yourself into it. Truth. So they say, by this research, there's no way to tell. At this point, there are simply observations that warrant further research with higher quality, reliable evidence. To make the cannabis mental health picture a little more confusing, the report found that cannabis consumption was not correlated with an increased risk of developing depression, anxiety, or PTSD. Those are suicide diseases. They're conflicting within the same report. They're conflicting with themselves. Now, while some evidence suggests that the herb can worsen the manic sides of manic depression, there was little evidence that the herb was associated with an increased risk of developing the condition. Enough of that crap. Check the next website. This is a cancer.gov. Yes, cancer.gov. The National Cancer Institute from the NIH, National Institute of Health. Cannabis and cannabinoids. Health professional version. This is one of those we have to pick. That's not what I want. Don't worry, I'll get there. Let's see. I'm going to pause. Got to find something. Okay, hi again. I have found ncbi.nlm.nih.gov. This is called Dialogues in Clinical Neuroscience. Cannabinoids in Health and Disease. I don't see a date. But Natalia M. Kogan, MSc, and Raphael Metkulam, PhD. In the abstract, cannabis sativa preparations have been used in medicine for millennia. However, concern over the dangers of abuse led to the banning of the medicinal use of marijuana in most countries in the 1930s. Only recently, marijuana and cannabinoid receptor agonists and antagonists, as well as chemically related compounds whose mechanism of action is still obscure, have come back to being considered of therapeutic value. However, their use is highly restricted. Despite the mild addiction to cannabis and the possible enhancement of addiction to other substances of abuse, when combined with cannabis, the therapeutic value of cannabinoids is too high to be put aside. They don't have it right on possible enhancement. There is no addiction to cannabis, and it's anti-addiction. I'll repeat that over and over again. I did not ever feel addicted to my morphine. I did to my OxyContin. I got shaky when I didn't have my OxyContin. Why? I didn't have pot. When I got morphine and pot at the same time, all the symptoms of opiate addiction left. Out the window, gone, never to return, as long as I'm legally smoking marijuana. And I got my topical, and I smoke my space rocks. Now, there's no addiction. But anyway, numerous diseases, such as anorexia, emesis, pain, inflammation, multiple sclerosis, neurodegenerative disorders like Parkinson's, Huntington's, Tourette's, and Alzheimer's, epilepsies, glaucoma, osteoporosis, schizophrenia, cardiovascular disorders, cancer, obesity, metabolic syndrome-related disorders, to name just a few, are being treated or have the potential to be treated by cannabinoid agonists, antagonists, and cannabinoid-related compounds. In view of the very low toxicity and the generally benign side effects of this group of compounds, neglecting or denying their clinical potential is unacceptable. Instead, we need to work on the development of more selective cannabinoid receptor agonists and antagonists and related compounds, as well as on novel drugs of the family with better selectivity, distribution patterns, and pharmacokinetics. And in cases where it is impossible to separate that desired clinical action and the psychoactivity, just to monitor the side effects carefully. Now, the preparations such as marijuana, hash, daga have been used in medicine for millennia. They keep saying that. Everybody keeps saying it. When is the government finally going to listen? President Trump, Mr. Sessions, you guys got to listen to this, okay? Listen. Investigation into the chemistry of cannabis began in the mid-19th century, following a major trend in chemical research at the time which centered on the quest for natural active products. Numerous alkaloids were isolated in pure form or partially characterized. Morphine, cocaine, strychnine, and many others were purified and used in medicine. Laudanum. That was a drink. People who dipped their finger in it, cured headaches, everything. That was morphine. Liquid heroin. But, however, most of the terpenoids, a major class of secondary plant metabolites to which the plant cannabinoids also belong, were not isolated until the end of the century or even much later, and in many cases their purity was doubtful. In 1840, Schlesinger was apparently the first investigator to obtain an active extract from the leaves and flowers of hemp. A few years later, de Courtive described the preparation of an ethanol extract that on evaporation of the solvent gave a dark resin which he named cannabin. For detailed history of early cannabis research, see reference 4. That's why I gave you the .ncbi.nlm.nih.gov. That way you can follow the bouncing ball. Now, where was I? Okay. The chemical research on the plant cannabinoids and their derivatives over nearly 2 centuries is described in reference 5. It was, however, not until 1964 that delta-9 THC, the psychoactive component, was isolated in pure form and its structure was elucidated. Shortly thereafter, it was synthesized and became widely available. These chemical advances led to an avalanche of publications on Delta-9 as well as on CBD, a non-psychoactive plant cannabinoid. Hold on, my screen just flashed. Hope my thing doesn't take a dump here. We're coming up in an hour. Let me just say this. They talk about addiction to cannabis. There is no addiction to cannabis. It is anti-addiction. I'm proof. Go back on my videos. I've made my videos and I've told you the proof. And I've used myself as a guinea pig on air. Right now I'm on my morphines. I took an extra one just an hour ago and look at me. Okay? So far this morning I took 120 milligrams. I've taken half my morphine daily already. Do I look okay? Yes, I may be all over the place because that's just how my mind works. Okay? My brain's all constantly spinning and working on multiple things at the same time. Okay, looking down here at something, I can sit here and read something, I can text somebody right here while I'm talking to you, and I've got Law and Order Special Victims unit on, and I'm always running a song through my head. And I do all this on marijuana and morphine. So, do not tell me that they don't work well together. They do. Very light. That's it. They work together. You cannot deny the scientific evidence. Okay? They've taken some sort of picture from outside of our galaxy that shows from the Big Bang and how big our galaxy is. And it proves that everything started as a Big Bang from the basic hydrogen molecule. Shit split off, things that happened, Big Bang. Boom, everything happened. Everything spread out. And that's where we get our planets, in rotation. Okay? And that's why Earth is special. We came about because of the way our Earth is set. Our distance from our sun. How we go through our seasons. How everything works. It's all great. But I can't believe that a God figured all this out. From the DNA strands all the way up to the grand universe that we've only seen 1% of the sky. NASA has said we've only seen 1 to maybe 2% now, and in 60 years, we've only mapped out 1% to 2% of the entire galaxy. It's going to take forever, okay? There's just too much out there for me to believe in a single person who created it all, okay? Just my atheism coming out. Yes, I'm an atheist. So does that make me a heathen because I'm taking marijuana and morphine together? Does it make me an addict? Does it make me a druggie? Does it make me a pusher? No. I'm not selling my weed to anybody. I don't smoke with anybody unless they have. If they can walk in my house and show me this with their picture and stuff on it, I can smoke with them right here. And they can bring their stuff here because I'll let him. Anybody, even if you go to a house of a friend that doesn't smoke, as long as he says, yeah, you can smoke in the backyard. Your neighbors can call the cops all they want. He allowed you to smoke it there, and you are a legally carded marijuana user in Arizona. If your neighbors don't like the smell of the smoke, that's why I'm glad to live secluded. I can sit out on my porch and do bong rips, and I watch the roadrunners play. I watch the rabbits play and the ground squirrels. We have an entire show out there for me to just sit there and relax and watch. and smoke some weed, have a cigarette here and there. I took my smoothie out last night near sundown, so I could just sit there and watch the sundown and see if there was worth a picture. I just want everybody to get off the backs of the medical marijuana program and stop threatening. Because you're basically doing that. You're threatening the public by saying you want to take away something that they were given to legally. I was legally given a prescription for pot and morphine. And to have you start limiting the amount of opiates on the shelves puts me at risk of not having it for some time. I got held up for 2 weeks. Almost 2 full weeks I got held up because they changed the rules and required a prior authorization letter and didn't tell anybody until I went to Walgreens and they said, we can't fill it. You need a prior authorization, which I have to tell my doctor about, and then he's got to fill it out and send it in to MedImpact, the drug people, just to get myself approved for morphine. Refills. I've been on this shit for 5 freaking years, people. I'm going to be on it for the rest of my life. Why? Because I am degenerating. I can't stop it. I can slow it down. This helps me slow it down. And these help me to live through it. And live. I would never contemplate suicide. I've told you that. But if I did, I'm pretty sure this would make me not want to. Because it's antidepressant, anti-anxiety, anti-pain, anti-nausea, anti-vomiting, anti-diarrhea, anti-Alzheimer's, anti-cancer, anti-glaucoma, anti-inflammatory, anxiolytic. Need I go on, Mr. Sessions, President Trump, Mrs. and Mrs. and Mrs. Durs and whatever? You guys have just got to get real. I apologize for my outbursts earlier in the video, but it pisses me off to have my government, to have my president on the campaign promise to leave medical marijuana 100% backing of medical marijuana. Backing it 100%, Mr. Trump. Why are you letting Jeff Sessions do this bullshit? It shouldn't be happening. We should not be getting... I shouldn't have to do these videos bitching about Sessions. I should not have to. But I am. The president has the power to put these people in their place and tell them what to do. The DEA needs to be told what to focus on and to leave medical cannabis alone. The only reason they're attacking it is because it's easy. Because it's here. It's legalized. We can do it. So they want to stop it. Instead of going to the ports of entry and looking for meth labs in the country and getting distributors and importers and illegal sales. Some guy tried to join my group, and I won't let it happen. I keep my group legal because I don't want to lose this. I can't afford to lose this. I can't afford to live in pain like I did. I would disappear. You would never hear from me again if I didn't have this and morphine. And you would not believe the pain. But to have the government minimalize me is what it is. You're minimalizing me and millions of people who like me, who are not stoners. Patients of hundreds of disorders with thousands of symptoms, and we just want some relief. And we don't want the hassle and the fear of Damocles' sword over our heads of our own government taking away that which was given to us already. And like I said yesterday, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And in order to form a more perfect union, all states should legalize medical pot. Recreational can come around later. But right now, the primary thing is to start thinking about the health of the nation. Marijuana and hemp oil has proven to fit our bodies and our ECS like a lock and key, like puzzle pieces fitting together to make a perfect picture of a healthy human being. And sometimes people are forced. Doctors and nurses will just go, you need this treatment, you need this treatment, you need this treatment, you need this treatment. And okay, I'll sign. And then they start zapping you with freaking x-rays, radioactive shit, and they start pumping poisons in you. Like, poisons. Mustard gas is what gave people the idea for chemotherapy. What they used to use in the battlefields in France in World War I. Mustard gas. They said, oh, let's see if it'll work on cancer. 30% of the time, if 70% attrition rate for cancer for chemo. 70% people live through cancer with cannabis and no chemo. This is a wonder drug. Mr. Sessions, Mr. President, Chuck Rosenberg, okay? Dr. Ethan Russell with clinical endocannabinoid deficiency. Rick Simpson oil, Phoenix Tears, Run from the Cure. Tommy Chong, stoner and activist, Cheech and Chong fame, cured himself twice by making his own cannabis concentrate. What more proof do we need, sirs and ma'ams? We don't deserve to be minimalized by our government, to have our health threatened by the government, and we don't deserve to have something taken away that has been proven to help us. Okay? The continued prohibition of pot on the rest of the country is a major disservice to the population and the citizenry of America. I just added somebody to the group yesterday. He's picked up and he's moving his family to Colorado. Why? Because his state would not allow him to treat his son with hemp oil. His son has epilepsy, and he's his designated caregiver. He will be growing his own weed in Colorado legally. Why? Because of his son. He's protecting his child. Okay? If a guy points a gun at your son and you stand in front of him and you get shot, you're the hero. Your child suffers from major grand mal seizures, painful leftovers after the seizures. Dad can't jump in front of that bullet, but he can put up a screen to protect the child, and that screen is cannabidiol. So Joshua, I'm glad to hear you're going to Colorado. I'm glad to hear that you're going to take care of your son and you're going to grow your own. I applaud you, Josh. Or Joshua. I don't know if you prefer Josh. But this guy Joshua, he's moving to Colorado because of his state's stupidity. People are picking up and moving to places where they can get marijuana. Fact. It's happening in trickles, but that's because too many people can't afford to move, and they're stuck in a state, and a lot of times they're on disability and they can't afford to pick up and move. Okay? They need legalization in that state. That's it. So, in closing, I want to say, Mr. Sessions, I flipped you off the bird. Sorry. But you deserve it. You have to stop scaring the people of America. And you have to quit threatening us by saying you're going to take away our medicine, that which makes us healthy. That's forcing us to use big pharmaceutical companies' poisons. And that in itself is a grand disservice to the citizenry of America. Now we need to patriot the fuck up, people. Get America on track and get medical marijuana totally legalized. Then you can find the illegal people easier when you leave us alone. Get off of us. And Congress, keep denying the Justice Department money for the war on drugs, as long as they're including medical marijuana. Mr. Sessions, you say, okay, medical marijuana is left alone. I will take care of imports, meth labs, and that. That's what you've got to do, sir. Mr. Trump, please tell him to do so. Okay? I don't want to dictate to my president, but I have to say this. Because there's millions of people out there, and I speak for them. I have 160... How many people do I have in my group? How big is Rick's medical marijuana group? We are getting big. 152 members. All of them are on my friends list. Many of them are chronic and severe, intractable pain, PTSD, depression, bipolars, and others. There's people with psychoses that are actually helped by marijuana. This is my biggest group. And everybody wants to join it. But I deny and block 20 people per week. When all I can see is they have a brand new profile, they just joined Facebook, and all I see is pictures of weed. I block those people because I know what they want to do. They want to use me as a selling point, as a storefront. And I will not allow it. Tracy Morgan Gibson sells legal hemp CBD products available through the mail, through the Federal Postal Service, in all 50 states. She can advertise. I do advertise for her. She just did it yesterday, and I do ads. I'll do a once a week ad of my own that has her words in it. I have her statement saved on my clipboard, so I can put her. So I can say, look, I'm going to talk about Tracy, and I might say something else, then I'll put her ad. But I do this for free. Before I even tried her products. I wanted a sample, which didn't do anything to me. But it's because I didn't take it long enough. When my wife got turned around from 18 months, 4 days of chaga mushroom and 10 milligrams CBD. 4 days. 18 months of sickness gone, pain, bloated feeling, gone. Started getting a gray area, pre-cataracts, gone after 4 days of CBD. So I started taking more hemp oil. And I'm taking a dropper of this a day, and I'm taking my mushroom powder twice a day. And I'm living a better quality of life than 5 years ago, and 200% better than 8 years ago, when I was in 8 to 10 pain every day of my life for almost 6 months, no, over 18 months of 5 doctors. None of them would give me anything more than 20 milligram hydrocodone, full of Tylenol. And even my present doctor, okay, when I went, I saw the older doctor that was the top doctor in the business. Well, he didn't like treating me because I tell it like it is, and I am medically trained, and I know what's wrong with me. And he used to go, shh. And he's writing. You couldn't talk to him while he was writing. And he would write this long stuff. If he'd ask you a question, and you'd go, yes. And then he writes 5 sentences on whatever, I don't know what the hell he put in there. But he passed me on to my now doctor. So 5 doctors, 4 previous, and then I went to Tucson Family Medicine. Dr. J first, he passed me on to Dr. Rick, and here we are today. I am a medical marijuana patient that takes morphine, and I use hemp oil, legal hemp oil, and I am 200% better. All of my pain is not gone. I am not 100% pain-free. I'm always up there on the middle of the scale, from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed. And I get very crappy sleep if I don't smoke weed. I go to bed with this so I don't set the house on fire. It doesn't get hot. The metal here will get really hot if you suck too much, because there's a heater in here to burn the oil. But that's why I have 2 of them going all the time. So when one gets warm, but it puts me to sleep. I used to lay there and my brain would not shut off. I told you what my brain's like. It's wild. Everything's going on. 3-part harmonies, my favorite band, Rush. Everything, I sing one of their songs in my head. And I've even got my fingers are tapping the drums on my pillow. And I fall asleep. Where I used to lay awake for half hour to hours, I am now getting to sleep within 8 to 10 minutes of laying my head on my pillow. I'm sometimes not even getting through one full song. And I get that because of this. Because that was there, and that changed it. So, I know what changed what. I know what affects what in my body. Like, I bruise easily, and my skin's sensitive because of the morphine. It's a side effect of it. But most of the side effects are countered and eased by the use of cannabis and hemp oil. It attenuates the symptoms. Okay? They wash each other out. While the morphine takes care of your pain, if your pain level never gets to 0, you don't feel high. That's why I never feel high, because I'm up here in the pain level. My morphine does not put me to 0 and give me a buzz. I used to with hydrocodone with toothaches. My tooth would be killing me. One little hydrocodone, pain's gone. And I get a woo-woo, little loopy feeling. If you've taken hydrocodone for a toothache, you know that loopy feeling you feel. You know, a feeling of lightness and kind of butterflies in your stomach, and things might go, ooh. I never feel that from either the morphine or the marijuana. I don't ever get high. So you can't call me a stoner. I'm healing. I'm getting healed. So I'm a self-healer, not an addict. I'm not a pothead or a stoner. I'm a self-healer. And I have been prescribed the best medicines ever. So, let me close this out. We're going on an hour and a half. Mr. President, Mr. Sessions, Mr. Rosenberg, please learn more about the facts. That's why I tag you. And tell Doug Ducey, Mr. Trump, tell Doug Ducey to grow hemp in Arizona. The frickin' idiot should not have shot that bill down. Hemp is jobs. Hemp is revenue. Look into it, Mr. Trump. You're the businessman. Think about the business of hemp and what it can do for this country. I've got some videos labeled just on hemp. They're all titled Marijuana, and a title. You'll find hemp industry in there. Watch my videos. Share my videos, everybody. Give me topics and questions. Give me feedback. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like. But peace out. Free marijuana from the prison of ignorance.